Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to HLTV Confirmed. And today I am proud to announce that we are shifting our focus from Counter-Strike over to Project A, aka Valorant. And we are going to be the first official news hub behind it. We're going to have all the content. We're going to be interviewing all the pros. We've got them on the show here today, as you can see. It's going to be fantastic, guys. This is going to be the biggest thing in esports history. But no, seriously. This is a Counter-Strike podcast. It's always going to be about fucking Counter-Strike. I don't want to ever talk about another video game ever. So get your other video game bullshit out of here. Anyway, Striker, how you doing?
Yep, pretty good. I expected something, something to catch me off guard again as last time.
I figured I'd just leave it at that. Just how you doing? All right.
Pretty good, pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, well, I'm alive. Prof, how was the watching from home? Probably the same as most people.
I mean, no one was in the arena, so it wasn't a big difference, I feel like.
Yeah.
No, it was long days, I guess, for you guys as well over there. 3 best of 3s, double best of 3s, double streams, all of that shit. But it was good, good.
We're asking ourselves how fun it would have been if we had 4 best of 3s like the old days.
Yeah.
So we're lucky that was
probably like 25% more fun.
Now, every minute is valuable, ladies and gentlemen, but every minute is valuable if you're rich. So we won't wait too long here because we have Nomad here, and we're going to get into some questions. Nomad, first of all, I have one very important question for you. Does money make you happy?
No, not really.
Well, I guess I can start working then. So fuck. All right. Well, if that's the case. All right. So those people, the viewers who aren't too familiar, we have Nomad here, who is one of the owners of HLTV.org, and we're going to be talking to you about the recent sale that maybe not everybody is too familiar with, because I'm sure there's a bunch of questions from the community around this. As the main hub for CSGO, I think there's a lot of people who are going to be asking some questions here. So we're going to get stuck into this pretty quickly. I know Lucas has to go collect his food, so now we can actually do that. First of all, let's just start with what is this deal all about? Who are Better Collective? What does it bring?
Yeah, so Better Collective is it's a company that run a lot of affiliate sites. So they run a very different kind of content than we do. But what we do have in common is that we share the same customers, mainly the sports betting sites. So there is a lot of overlap in that regard, and then they wanted an esports presence, and we have quite the esports presence. So we saw a chance that we could focus on the esports stuff and not so much on the more boring stuff, all the business stuff, selling ads, managing contracts across the world, all this stuff. So there was kind of just a good opportunity to combine forces, because they have no skin in the game in the esports industry, right? They don't run a tournament, they don't have a team, they have no interests at all in esports currently. So they just wanted a nice independent player.
Okay, so that we're going to kind of cover the general stuff first. So that I suppose is the why this deal happened. Obviously, getting to expand and having more money come in means that you guys are going to have now more resources behind you to continue to grow the website. Is that the idea here?
I mean, the past couple of years, we've had, in a sense, plenty of resources. Like, what we try to do is that we spend the resources we have in a sensible way, right? So we won't start sending people to various events where it makes no sense. But we will go if it's interesting for Counter-Strike, right? We'll keep expanding the site as we've always done. So, I mean, it isn't like you'll see a giant change from day to day, because I think we're already trying to make the best site we can and do the coverage as good as we can. I don't think sending 4 more guys to Katowice would have made the coverage any better, really.
Definitely not this time round. I think so for like viewers, users of HLTV at home and stuff. I guess they see this go down and they see a lot of money coming your way or HLTV's way, right? And they're probably sitting there wondering what this kind of means for them as users of the site. So you're saying here, in terms of like the coverage side of things, not a lot's going to change there. Is this where maybe we here at HLTV Confirmed can get some more resources? Maybe we get a studio somewhere. We fly Prof and Striker in from their little countries to maybe Denmark or somewhere fun.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly possible, right? I mean, for sure the pockets will be bigger now. So if it makes sense, if we can make a business case for it, yeah, now we can do it. Maybe before we didn't want to put what such a big percentage of the money we had available at that point into the show, but maybe now it's less of our budget, right? So now we can do it. So I mean everything is kind of up in the air. So yeah, we would just keep working on being the best coverage site we can be, right? And yeah, that includes confirmed, that includes on-site coverage, that includes whatever's on the website, right? So it's all a big mix, and we want to be the best, and it's what we've been working on for 18 years, and we'll keep going in that direction, because I mean stopping now makes no sense, right? They didn't buy us because they wanted to change something. They bought us because they liked what they saw.
Does that mean we can get that filter I was asking for with the best of threes, the best of fives, the best of ones? Can we add that one? Yeah, that should be a good
I'll
one.
program it for you tomorrow.
And I keep asking the guys at ESL for this one. They're working on this one for me. But can you give us split scoreboards as well? First half, second half. Is that possible? The people are asking for it, and by the people I mean me.
Yeah, I mean we have the data. I mean it'll take longer than a day for me to make, but I'll do the maps for you tomorrow, maybe next week for the split scoreboards. All right.
Okay. So Prof's compiled a nice little list in a Word document for me here. Basically, obviously people had some concerns or questions from the community of what all this could mean. Prof, what is the one here you've got where it says Twitter? This deal.
It's just like Twitter is like it's from Twitter. It's like a comment from Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a comment like it says like this because people are obviously there was a lot of people just throwing opinions and claiming them to be facts. Like even people within the company didn't know what it entailed that it was going to happen, and then like 10 minutes later it's like it's obvious that this is happening because of this. I'm like, okay. So one of the claims was that this deal will stop anything unregulated in like skins market related or betting related in regulated markets. This is one of the claims that popped up on Twitter. Like, how is this? Like, obviously, this website is the better. What's the name of the people that bought us? It's like the iGaming and betting related. So they want to like kind of just make it a bit cleaner. Let's say that was one of the claims. So how is that going to work out?
I mean, we'll abide to regulation, right? I mean, we already have differentiated market even before we do this, right? Some places we can show some bookmakers, some places we can't, right? So yeah, not much will change in that regard. I mean, if there is, I mean, it'll only change in the way that the legal resources of Better Collective might be bigger, right? So they'll come and they'll tell us, hey, actually you cannot show this stuff in that country, right? And then we won't. I mean, we'll of course do our best to abide to all regulations we did before, and we still aspire to. So I mean, not much will change in that regard.
Okay, so I feel this has already been stated publicly, but we may as well get this out there so any of our audio listeners, when we're tuning in now, they can get this straight from the horse's mouth. In terms of the structure of the company or the leadership, obviously we're talking about Martin, we've got Peter there and yourself. There's probably more people involved, but you're the three that I know. Is anything changing from that regard, or is that saying business as usual?
I mean, it's entirely business as usual. Actually, we would never have gone through with this deal if we had not remained completely in control, and that's what we are. I mean, we are 100% running this company, and they cannot really, even though they have bought the ownership, we run the company, right? So we decide the direction. Of course, we'll do it with input from them. It makes no sense not to, but we have final say on everything. And I mean, we've been doing this for 18 years. I mean, it isn't like we're just abandoning Counter-Strike right now, right? I mean, it is what we do. I mean, we've been working so hard, so long to just do the best Counter-Strike side we can do, and there's no way we're stopping now.
Well, now that you're at the Counter-Strike part of it, obviously a lot of people have been asking for, I don't know, an HLTV in Dota, an HLTV in League of Legends or whatever. Does this money mean that we're gonna expand to more games?
I mean, not more than it did yesterday, right? I mean, if one day I wake up and decide that, yeah, Dota is great, right? Maybe I'll make a Dota side and we'll spend 18 years building that, right? But I mean, it takes forever to build a site like HLTV. I mean, you can launch it, you can do it, but I mean, it's a long hard grind. I mean, you guys know, you produce the content, right? It's just every day, single day. And I mean, we would never go somewhere else if we weren't committed and knew that we could make the same kind of product as we do for HLTV, right? Because these sites, they pop up, they go away, and they don't understand that the first couple of years is just hard work, right? So I mean, maybe, I mean, never say never, right? But our main focus is Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is what we love, and I don't see why we would go anywhere right now or in a year from now even.
I think it's kind of important. It's kind of always been a part of our message to, or not a message, but just like a part of our DNA to kind of not split our focus, you know, and that being a big reason for why we would probably not, you know, shift over to another game because of that.
Yeah, I mean, when chat has no more requests for the stats section and no one asks for anything else, I mean, when I just sit around all day and it's like, yeah, I can't figure find anything to program, right? Sure, we'll do something else, but there's so much depth in Counter-Strike. There are so many stats, there are so many features. I mean, and we are constantly redoing stuff also, right? I mean, recently we changed the brackets. They weren't working well. They weren't pretty. I mean, I told the team I wanted the best brackets in all of Counter-Strike, and I think they've delivered, and we'll continue. I mean, we'll just keep redoing stuff until it's perfect, right? And I doubt that'll ever really happen. So I imagine we'll just keep grinding on Counter-Strike.
Okay, so if we recap all this side of things just for people, nothing's going to change in terms of how the running of the site is. You guys, as the owners, still have the final say. So that would mean that all these concerns about, you know, betting completely taking over the website and all that are pretty much unfounded unless you guys decide you wanted to do that, right? That this comes from you, not from that company. And I guess there was some issues here, or not issues. Some people were just worried if now that you were, you know, because you were seen as like a independent little fish before, and now that you're owned by a bigger company, you know how people have their worries about that kind of bullshit. If you guys are still completely in control, I guess all that's don't have to worry about that. So we can kind of get to stuff that I'm probably more interested in, because that kind of shit, unfortunately, people at home, maybe they care, but for me, money's money. So I'm interested in what's coming up with HLTV.org. Do you have anything exciting in the pipeline that you can let us know? Anything you're working on? Any features? Anything like that?
I mean, I wish I could tell you that I had just a thing ready. Actually, right now we're actually working on some boring infrastructure, but the boring infrastructure will enable us to put on all the new features. I mean, stuff like adding coaches to the team pages and smaller stuff that people are like, hey, why haven't you done this? And it's just been a matter of having to upgrade some infrastructure to enable us to easily add this. So the database, all the filtering, all this stuff wouldn't be a mess. I mean, we could kick them in like players and make it work like that, but we'd rather do it right. So we're getting a ton of stuff upgraded there. We're also upgrading, so I mean, the player photos will stay the same when we update them, right? So the idea is if you go to our match page from 2015, you'll see a picture of s1mple the way he looked in 15 instead of the way he looks now, right? And if you go to an old fnatic match, you'll see the old logo, not the new one, right? It's stuff like that. I mean, it isn't terribly sexy, but the sum of all this stuff adds up to the message we kind of want to send, right? That we are accurate and we have the historical record also, right? So a ton of small improvements that'll all sum up to great features, actually, I think.
All right, and there was a question that was just put in the chat by So Easy for Ents, which is he asked plans to release an API/support open data ? Now, I don't know what that means. Maybe you know what that means.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
He said plans to release an API/support open data ?
Yeah, so I mean, an open API, I mean, I'd love to do one if it made any sense, right? But if we do an API, people can fetch the data from with their computers, right? Well, it gets very, very hard for us to monetize it. And truth be told, we have a team of maybe 20 people entering all this data, working day and night across all time zones, right? I mean, we need a way to recoup this cost, or else we can't afford to have the guys doing it, right? So I mean, an open API, it's very tough. I wish we could all live in a perfect world where data was free and everyone could do cool stuff, because for sure people could do cool stuff if we gave the data away, right? But we have to be pragmatic, and we have to say that we value more that we can keep the guys that gather the data on the payroll, and then we try to accommodate as much as we can, right? I try to add all the features that make sense, and yeah, basically that's our standpoint on the whole API.
Okay, Prof Strike, you got any questions here before we keep this one moving?
Obviously, the question, it was answered before as well, but the most asked question is about the forums, that are we gonna remove them completely?
We already did
remove like a big corporate company.
They're already gone.
No, I mean, again,
don't tell SPUNJ they're still there.
I mean, am I entirely happy with the forums in the state they are? No, but we will not do anything we wouldn't have done had we not been bought by our new corporate overlords, right? I mean, it isn't like tomorrow they'll dictate you have to remove the forums, right? We'll do it in a way that's consistent with what we do, right?
Striker, you got anything here?
Are we gonna get a raise?
Oh, fuck's sake. Live on air. He'd probably fire you live on air, if anything.
Yeah, no comment. I'll let you get away from that one.
The silence is deafening there. All right,
That's
so Lucas, you here? I want to make sure. Okay, well, I just wanted to check. I know you had a whole food situation going on there. We're going to move to everybody's favorite part of the show other than mine. Are you smarter than Twitch chat? Lucas, run it. All right, well, we're back. Now, Prof, you've waited until the bumper's played to have another question. Ask the question.
I just wanted to ask about the unified ranking that's been talked about. Like, is that something we can discuss?
I mean, I'd love a unified ranking, but at the same time, I mean, we'd gladly hear from everyone. I mean, if the CSPPA, if ESL, if Blast, if FLASHPOINT, whoever's out there, if they want to talk ranking, let's talk ranking, right? I mean, but they shouldn't come and expect us to change our ranking entirely, right? If they come and say, we want all this stuff changed. I mean, as we see it right now, our ranking is pretty good. Can it be tweaked? Can it be better? Of course it can. But I mean, they can go ahead and make their own rankings. I mean, if I imagine they'll not be as good as ours, and if they're better, good for Counter-Strike, right? So I mean, I'll gladly take feedback, but again, we have molded the ranking as it is now from how we view Counter-Strike, right? I mean, teams will want teams to count for more. Players, I don't know, will want players to count for more. I mean, but right now we've tried to model it as we see best, right? So we'll take input, but I won't promise anything. But I mean, if we only had one ranking, I think that would be awesome for Counter-Strike.
I just wanna grab something that you said earlier to do with people asking the question about the open API. I assume that's to do with people being able to use your data, right? And I want to kind of fold that into this for the people at home who are just yelling and saying, oh, they should just use HLTV.org's rankings. What Nomad said before about HLTV.org's data and then wanting to protect that for a business thing, the same thing is why all these companies want to have their own rankings, because they want their events to be valued the most, ladies and gentlemen. It's not fucking rocket science. It's just business.
And to be fair, none of them also like claim to have like the best ranking out there. You know, that like most of them kind of agree that ours is better and stuff. So they just don't use it for the purposes that the scene as a whole uses it, right? Or that we use it as. They just use it for their own purpose at most of the time anyway, and that's it.
Yeah. So okay, we've touched on that one. Now we can get into this bloody quiz. Per, do you have the link? Has Lucas hooked you up?
No.
It should be in TeamSpeak.
TeamSpeak chat.
And then once you're ready, we'll kick it off. I'll read out the questions. Now, I don't know if you understand how hostile Twitch chat can be. It feels like they've been getting dumber and dumber every week we've done the quiz, because I even beat them. So I think, am I still the only one to win? MBK didn't do very well, did he? Okay.
You're still the only one.
All right, so we'll see if we can get a secondary victor on the board here. I don't know what these questions are. I don't know what they're even going to entail, but I hope that they're fair. I hope you've done a fair job here, Prof.
Always.
All right.
You're all answering the same questions.
Tell me when we're good, Lucas. I can't see the questions yet. I can only see... All right, let's go now. Live on 3. All right, question number 1. What was What was Astralis's first tournament win? Was it A, ESL 1 New York 2016? Was it B, ECS Season 2 Finals? Or was it C, PGL Season 1 Finals? Lock that answer in when you're feeling it. Wait for that timer to count on down. Twitch will be getting their votes on in, and then we'll reveal the correct answer. How many questions we got this time around, Prof?
5.
5 questions. Okay.
Man, these are hard.
All right. What have you? Oh, we've got B from both here. Twitch chat and Nomad both going with the ECS Season 2 Finals, and both correct. So we're off to a banger of a start here. This is where we get a little ding noise and the tick comes up. All right, it's 1-1. Going into question number 2. Oh, devices on the screen. Who won the most MVPs since the start of 2019 until today? Was it A, Simple, B, Device, or C, ZywOo? Oh.
I really like this picture. This is the only reason I put Device in. Device showing the number 4 for the 4 majors one.
All right, where are we at here? Time is up, and the votes will be revealed. Everyone's going with Device, so that's B again, and it was ZywOo. How many did Device get?
3 only.
And ZywOo has
5.
Fucking hell. All right, well, too bad his team sucks. All right. Twitch chat and Nomad tied, 1 apiece. We're going into question number 3. Here we go. Which of the following countries has hosted the least majors? Ooh. A, Sweden, B, Germany, or C, the USA?
US.
This one should be easy. The least majors, the fewest majors. Doesn't matter. English is one of those things. You can do whatever you want with the language.
That is true.
I mean, if you want to be wrong, you can, sure.
The only way you can be wrong is if you spell favor without the U. All right.
Hard to disagree on that one.
We've got Sweden selected. And you're both correct. This is not looking good. I feel like we have a tie on our hands here. All right. Question number 4.
Are you calling overtime?
I'm not
already.
We don't even have an overtime, do we?
No.
We'll flip a coin. Do how I do with predictions on the desk. Just close my eyes and point. All right. Question number 4. When was the first 250k plus event held in Denmark? Was it A, 2015, B, 2016, or C, 2017? The first 250k plus event held in Denmark.
As you can see, obviously unbiased questions here.
I feel this should be pretty easy for people at home.
Well,
I mean, I was there. I don't even remember the year.
C has come on in here with both again, and both were correct. Was it the Blast event? It was Blast Copenhagen?
Yeah, and Pro League the same year.
Okay.
Unse.
Yeah. They were not too far. They swallow the D. Yeah, this is the last one. So we're all tied up here. It doesn't even matter. We are going into overtime right now. It's only one round that matters. Here we go. Oh, it's been sick on the screen. Which major qualifier was the first to feature the Swiss system? Was it A, Katowice 2016? Was it B, Cologne 2016? Or was it C, Atlanta 2017? Atlanta. It's got land in the name. Who knows? Here it comes. 10 seconds remaining. The votes are trickling on in. That's Min Sik, guys. He's a Korean German who now lives in America. He used to work for SK. He worked for E-League for a while. If you want to know anything else about him, send me a DM. Oh, and you guys were wrong. It was Cologne 2016. So it's all tied up at 3 apiece. That's another tie. Nomad, how do you feel?
I feel good. I mean, me and Twitch chat, we're entirely alike, it seems.
Okay, all right. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. All right, so I believe, and Prof or Striker, correct me on this, we're only keeping Nomad for the start of the show, the questions about the sale and the quiz, correct?
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
So before we let you go, is there anything that you want to say, Nomad? Anything you want to get out there to the people at home? And anything like that?
No, I mean just that even though there are new owners, it changes nothing for us. I mean, we would never have sold this company if we couldn't carry it on, and if we couldn't keep executing on the vision. I mean, we didn't do this for 18 years to just quit now. I mean, I was 16 when I started the site, right? And I've been running it for 18 years. I've been spending more of my life running the site than I haven't. So, I mean, don't worry, guys. Everything is as it always was.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And Lucas, I'll let you handle these particulars as I keep the thing moving. Oh, okay. He can just leave, I guess. All right. Well, bye, Nomad.
Bye.
All right. We're going to move forward, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be going into the recent news. There's a bumper here, right? All right, we're back. Here's a really important one for everybody. Swag quits competitive CSGO. Now, for those of you who don't know, Swag was banned for match fixing. Hasn't been unbanned for match fixing. Probably should be unbanned.
It has to be said that by Valve. I think everybody else now would allow him to play.
Yeah.
Pretty sure everybody else.
He was unable to play in the majors, which as a kid, which he was very young when he was banned. That kind of sucks. Do we understand why he quit? Yeah.
Of course.
Is it a huge deal? Probably not. Does it raise the question of should Valve reconsider this? Probably yes. Can we do anything about it? No. Blame F's in here. See, I knew we should have got that guy on as a guest. Fuck. Anyway.
We do like a last minute, switch it or something.
we'll get him in later in the week or some shit. That'll be time. All right. So, do we want to stick too much on this Swag situation?
No, I mean there literally was.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You go.
Yeah, it's just whatever we've heard many times before around this subject, except now it's kind of final for him to leave as well, because he's kind of following in the footsteps of Dazed, even though he kind of wants to compete in another game, at least as far as we know, or as based on what he said. But it's just what we've been talking about around this issue for such a long time, and you've kind of covered it with the questions and answers, basically.
Yeah, it's just one of these things that we could talk about for days. The moral implication. When I say days, I mean like DAYS, not DAZED. We could talk about this for some time about the moral implications or what's right and what's wrong, and everybody's going to have a different standpoint on all of this stuff. But I think to put your heart into something and to never be able to participate in what we look at as the celebration of it, which is the majors, must be pretty gutting. So obviously, if you follow Swag on Twitter, you'd see that he obviously is looking to go and play this new Valorant game, which today they just released that trailer and stuff for. If you guys want to look at that shit, you can. But yeah, it's kind of like closing. The only member left who's still doing anything now is Steel, right? The rest of them are all pretty much done.
Yep.
So
also probably the oldest of them.
Yeah. True.
Also, the Frenchie is also. I don't think anybody else has really stuck around.
Look, I'm going to say something right now, and I don't have anything to back it up with, so probably shouldn't say it, but it's an opinion-based podcast, so it's kind of what they have me on here for. Like, match fixing in Counter-Strike, right, or match fixing in any esport, it really depends on, like, so for them, that was before the real money had come in, right? Like, that when they did that was before the money of today existed. But I'd say there's people today who are playing in the lower leagues, because Counter-Strike betting is probably all over those things. Like, we have a whole commission and shit to look into this stuff. So people should genuinely, I think by keeping them banned for this time, it kind of serves as a reminder to people that if you fuck up, that's kind of the end. And this will follow you through life, right? Like, even if you change and you realize what you did was wrong, and everybody changes, right? But those kind of moral implications will kind of stick with these people for life. So the fact that these guys were set an example of, I hope that has kept a lot of people away from that kind of behavior, because I can imagine how easy it would be to go, oh, hey, lose a couple of rounds here and we'll give you a bit of money, Hopefully it served as a positive for other people to not go down that path, but it's obviously a very sad thing so far after the fact. We'll keep it moving. We've spoken about this to the fucking cows come home. Gen.G.
I still love that phrase. You use it almost every...
The cows come home?
Yeah.
Do you not know that one?
Well, we talked about it before. I didn't know it until I heard it from you actually.
Probably. You
Fuck.
do use it quite often.
I
but
make
it is
up
kind of cool.
like it's all this shit that my mum always said all this stuff that didn't make any sense. So I just like I don't know. I just kind of started saying it. Like a quick game's a good game. I don't even know where that came from, but she used to always say that. Anyway.
I have not heard that either. I think it's an Australian thing.
Yeah, I don't know. But Gen.G, not an Australian thing. A team of 4 Asians and one white guy, basically, won DreamHack Anaheim. So I used to play in a team of that exact constellation back in Perth. I was the white guy, and the rest of the dudes on my team were Asian, and they were all good, and I sucked. So
Come back to Australia after all.
it's all come together here. But looking at this Gen.G roster, right? I don't think too many people considered them to come on in and win this event.
Certainly not Milan Sky.
Like,
literally,
who literally said there's no way they win their first event together, and then they did it.
Who the fuck saw that coming though?
With all the teams there, I don't think anybody saw that coming. They looked good though.
Yeah, surprisingly, they were pretty solid from considering how long they've been together. Because Bented only came in basically like mid-January or something like that. So for them to make this kind of progress in like a month and a half is pretty amazing, to be honest. And so it wasn't even Bented who like carried them through it. It was Sam who was actually doing really well throughout the.
He got the MVP, right?
Yeah, the DreamHack one anyway. We didn't give one of ours.
Yeah, no top 10 teams, so he will no HLTV MVP. But he was statistically the best player there. So if there was, he probably would be, I guess. I don't know.
I think that and the fact that Automatic was also up there, kind of, and even Kusta was actually doing pretty well as far as I remember. Yeah. So like everybody was doing well, which I think is a great sign for that team, because it didn't take Bented just like dicking on everybody and just carrying them through it. So I think that's a really, really good sign for the team.
Yeah, I think just in general, Sam was one of these. He was one of like the tens Sam and Obo were kind of the the upcoming NA superstars or whatever, and then Sam kind of fell to the sidelines with I guess signing with Envy and that team being kind of shit. So it seems like it was more about that team than about him not being that good, because now in this team he showed up pretty nicely. So good for him. Nice to see like young talents do well.
So I think the things that we need to kind of point out here, other than this Gen.G performance, is the fact that in Group B, MIBR and ENCE both
went out.
did not make it out of the group in a tournament with Furia North, Endpoint, FaZe, Gen.G, Complexity, MIBR, and ENCE. And MIBR and ENCE came last. ENCE came last at a DreamHack Open. Let's start there.
There was Endpoint. Look, Endpoint was at that event and they were last. It was ENCE and FaZe.
Oh.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
I mean, the fact that FaZe lost to Endpoint was also that's the team who lost to them. So
FaZe also lost the WSG qualifier for WSG World Finals in like the Russian finals, whatever.
Yeah.
Not that the qualification matters, probably because of all the coronavirus shit going on, but still just a lot of bad results coming in one after another. But yeah, ENCE finishing last, MIBR going out in groups. All of these great teams once absolutely.
Do ENCE have to make a roster change?
I think we're getting there.
Like, what do we?
Yeah, but like the thing is, I don't know where to go. Even like obviously, an in-game leader would be the choice, and then there's like, actually, when you think about it, when they brought in LXCB, it's not like that team was originally on paper like a super sick team. So they would have to go for a risk once again, and then pick up like an in-game leader from like second, third, fourth Finnish team. And I think like the only name that kind of comes up with like decent fragging and a decent team is Arvid. I need to check the team because I mixed them up. He's in Super Yimi SJ right now, and that's like that's the only thing that comes to mind for me that makes sense. Because going for oppers with Alu, I don't think makes a lot of sense. I'd rather have him as an opper than bring in like a different opper and let Alu in game lead or something fully. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that they're fucked. If I'm going to be honest, I just think that you've gone from being like in the grand final of a major, you fucking destroyed Astralis' nuke streak, and now And now I don't even have words. Now
this is like KRB leaving Astralis for North type thing.
Yeah.
You know, except it was actually the team's decision this time. You know, that's just sad.
All right. Well, I don't know if we'll give them too much time of day because they can join the Virtus Pro pile when it was the old Virtus Pro, who we just don't talk about until they actually do anything. Because it's just at this point, we're just talking about a team who's doing nothing anymore. They have no relevance to us at this point. Okay, so otherwise in this group, FaZe is very disappointing as well to come last year. I don't know what's going on with those guys. Like, they looked promising for a little while, and now it's like they're just not clicking anymore. Some of the stuff that I thought was strengths. Yeah,
I think it had a lot to do with XP Power still, you know, not practicing with them for quite a long time after
injury, right?
Yeah, after the surgery or whatever he had. I think he was still playing quite little. You know, the funny part is he was still top fragging, so it's obviously like he can't really put it on that. But still, they didn't practice with him for quite a long time, and that's just going to put a wrench in things. Like, you're not going to be 100% on with everything if you haven't played with one of your players, especially if it's like a star for a month.
Also think about the impact of like Flit being offered a place in Navi and then being denied that place allegedly by FaZe, like with a ridiculous $1.5 million buyout for a Flit. So his mindset's probably not like his mind space is like not in the right place right now probably. And then, as you said, like the thing with the Little playing instead of XP Power for like a week or something like that, and then before as well they had a big break. So a lot of things compounding on FaZe right now.
It's just hard to look too deep on that. I think it's just like I don't think they're going to be this bad moving on.
All right. Is there anyone else in the group who we're going to talk about? I think, like, for complexity, we all knew that like there's going to be a tapering off period, right? They're going to plateau for a little bit, then they're going to have another good result.
I was just happy that they didn't win because like the hype train was just too much for me to bear. It was like they're a team that has some likability, I guess, and then they had some good results, and then the community became unbearable in like 5 days. So I'm just glad they didn't win, so that can like taper down a bit.
Okay. Well, we'll probably move forward from this because I assume we're going to really want to jump into the meat and potatoes, which is all the talk around Katowice. So we also had a situation that went on down with an update at the start of Katowice, which was, I want to say it was kind of a minor update, but it did change something to do with the AWP, right? So
the thing is, I think this is actually like something that only like pros will, or like very, very high level players will notice. Because it's that kind of a thing that like one of those small things that like only pros utilize to be just a little bit better than like the other guy, you know, just like one of those like exploit type things, even though necessarily it wasn't one because it was in the game for such a long time. So I feel like this, like most people will probably not even notice that something like this has happened. But I feel like for a lot of the top tier operators, this will be something that they will have to get used to.
I haven't had a chance to play CS since the update because I was at Katowice. We didn't have any access to PCs there, so I am going to actually play tonight at some point when I've done it. Look, I'm not an AWPer, right? I never was an AWPer, so I don't know if I'm going to notice too much difference anyway. But I know that Kenny made a tweet just after the update came out saying he tested it, and that I think the tweet was like saying that they're trying to like nerf it more, something along those lines. I don't really remember exactly what he said, but I'm going to be curious.
Like from what I understand, it's like they removed that like little speed boost that was unintentional, but what you got after firing a shot, I think.
So while you were crouching.
So you could do like a kind of a small like jiggle or like move a bit quicker way after you like get the shot off. So like for an average, even like level 10 players on FaZe, it's not going to change anything, as Striker said. You really have to be like in the like little details to pick up on this. But maybe on the top level it does change things.
I don't think it's going to change too much anyway. It's not like you see operators, you know, constantly being in crouch, like taking shots crouching and stuff like that. That doesn't really happen too much. Like I was trying to actually focus on that when I was watching like the last couple of series at Katowice, and I honestly didn't notice like players do that too much. So I think it's generally not a major thing overall.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that one. We'll see what crops up with it as we move on forward. We're going to get stuck into... You ready, Lucas? Oh, good. I'm glad that you're always listening to me. The good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Well, if you missed it, there was a big Counter-Strike tournament that happened over the last week. It was IEM Katowice, and we had the top 10 teams in the world.
It, man. Like a million people watched it at the same time.
You never know. Some people, maybe they were sleeping. So we have to talk about this tournament, and we have to talk about a lot of things with this tournament because there was a lot to cover. I don't want to start in the order that we have here, which is good, bad, and then ugly. I want to kind of go the opposite way. We're going to mix things up a little bit here.
Okay.
I know it seems a little bit strange.
I know the producer loves that when you do that.
We're going to start with the ugly first, right? And we're going to get this old fucking elephant well and truly out of the room because this one here as a conversation point is probably the one that has the most impact on all of our lives, at least those of us working on Counter-Strike. And here, Profs had it listed for us as the ugly. For those of you who don't understand the term, the good, the bad, and ugly, it's a Western movie. But the ugly is like the messy situation, and the messiest situation you could possibly have is this arena that was going to be full, not being able to be filled because the government of the state, I don't know the Polish terms for it.
Just the region.
Yeah, decided that because of the coronavirus situation, there would be no crowd in attendance. Now, I want to get out in front of a couple of things here because maybe the viewers who watch our broadcast, maybe they don't keep up with too much what's going on in the news. There's been a lot of events all over the world that have been either just completely stopped or have had crowd attendance removed, or all of these little bits and pieces over the last couple of weeks due to the coronavirus, right? This thing, we're not trying to scare anybody or do any of that kind of stuff here, but we're just trying to let everybody know that this is a situation that's going on. And if you are a government, you are going to be looking out for the health of your citizens. So whether it is, like an impending danger or whether it is something that they're just being cautious of, it's better to be safe than sorry, ladies and gentlemen. And we all know that the death rate is quite low, especially for healthy people, especially for younger people, in terms of, young adults. Everything should be fine. But that's not what this is about. It's about the greater good of fucking humanity and the fact that this virus is spreading and all this kind of shit. Anyway, there being no crowd meant that we had a bit of an interesting viewing experience there. Now, Striker, you were at the event. You got to be inside while it was all going on. What did you kind of make of all of it?
Honestly, actually, it might be easier for somebody from the outside to kind of like talk about it, just because for me, obviously, I'm in the arena for a lot of it. And honestly, it was a little bit weird for me not, to watch those tournaments or those matches, especially when they were really like high pressure. Maybe not the last two because those were kind of like one-sided anyway. But just generally the high pressure matches that we had were obviously, in the arena, I didn't really quite feel the same way, I guess. But at the same time, like when I was there for like the intro for the playoffs, literally the first hour of when we saw the arena actually being empty and the intro was rolling, obviously, a little bit changed to what it was supposed to be. I still felt like the jitters and everything like that, even while I was in the arena, So yeah, I honestly, for me, it actually didn't have that much of an impact. I know a lot of people are kind of sad to see the arena empty and stuff like that, but I still was able to enjoy the event even while being inside. And I feel like that was the same thing for people on the outside, just because we saw how many people were actually watching for the best matches of the tournament. So I feel like all in all, obviously for the people that were in the arena or were supposed to be in the arena, that's going to suck because they didn't get to watch their favorite teams live and stuff like that. It's going to suck for ESL as organizers because obviously that's a big loss that they had to take, and God knows how it's going to impact them in the future, potentially like other events being canceled. But in general, for viewers at large, overall, I think it didn't really have a massive impact. At least I didn't think so.
What about for you, Prof, watching from home? How was the experience for you?
It was actually, I expected it to be like worse, but you get used to it like super quickly, and it's just, there not being a crowd just not that it makes sense, but we had a lot of events without crowds in the past, like the Star Series event in Turkey, for example. Yep. It was a big event, great teams and all of that, but no crowd. It's just kind of sad. Like one of the first games I was watching with some friends and a friend that doesn't watch CS or anything. So to show him the game, but without the crowd, kind of sucked. Like it couldn't really display the grandeur of the whole thing and how big it is and how exciting. Like any good play with the crowd is going to be more exciting, and it's going to be easier to like really get involved in it. So I think that's the thing that Striker kind of mentioned. I don't think it's like such a big loss for ESL for this event in terms of they had to refund the tickets or whatever, but it's just they missed the opportunity to be. Did my cam die again? They just missed that opportunity to make some more memorable moments in Katowice this year. I think that's the biggest. I mean, it's not like memorable moments didn't happen; they did, but more of it could have happened in like more iconic things. So that's, I think, the saddest part about everything. And yeah,
I was gonna say, could you imagine that arena full while Na'Vi is just ripping Astralis like limb from limb? Like some
honestly,
of those plays, man. Fuck.
Yeah, it would have been.
Imagine like the flamey Galil ace, like
that would have
against
erupted.
Astralis. Yeah, and also everyone loves when an underdog wins, and Astralis has been winning for so long. I think it would be like everyone would be super into it, like just like destroying them so hard. Yeah,
it's also the Na'Vi just generally have a pretty big following anywhere they go. Like basically, as long as they're not playing against the local team, like they're gonna have a decent support. So I feel like they would have had a pretty good support in Poland too, from like previous years. I remember they did. So that would have been pretty good. That's I agree with that.
Like last year in Katowice was the ENCE fans. Like some of them were ENCE fans, and the rest of them was just like people that kind of tagged along because these guys were having fun and ENCE were doing well. So for every like playoff match, there were more and more people going crazy for ENCE. So that was like a super cool thing, and then that could not happen this year because of the whole virus thing. So I think like when it was announced, like it was super sad for me. Like I was really. Like I don't really get affected by things most of the time. It's like, yeah, this kind of sucks. So what can you do? But I think it was salvaged overall. It was still a good show, right?
Yeah, like for us, we obviously changed some things on the back end. We had some ideas that we were trying to make happen last minute to see if we could integrate some different stuff to offer the viewer a little bit of a different experience. We were unable to pull those off for a couple of reasons. But for just so people get the human element of this, right? Because a lot of people out there, like a lot of people who comment online, they're not involved in this on a day-to-day, and I get it. If you know, like for me, I live my life literally out of sight, out of mind. Like I'm a heartless, I have no empathy, I'm a pretty shit human when it's not something that I'm involved in, and Counter-Strike is the one thing that I'm involved in. So for just for the human element, for people at home, like when this news came through, it's not like everybody just like stood around and just went, oh fuck, like this sucks. Like it definitely sucked the life out of it, and everybody kind of like had to take a step back to realize like this is actually happening. But it's for all those reasons that we spoke about before that I think everybody is like a mature adult and can understand, this is just the government doing what they think is right in this situation. But when Mihal came on the couch to give the speech about what had come on down, obviously for those people who don't know Carmack, he's Polish. He's been involved with ESL for a very long time. I would look at the event in Spodek like it's his pride and joy, like it's his baby, right? Because obviously he has a lot of pride at being his home event. I have a lot of pride every time I go to Sydney, or this year it's going to be Melbourne, same kind of thing. And when he's there on that couch, and I know Mihal personally, right? And when he's on the couch and he's giving that speech, and he's having a hard time, delivering that, and getting all worked up, but like that's emotional to me there as well. And then like at the end, when they did that speech at the end of the event and stuff, the same kind of thing. Like this is stuff that people are spending months and months and months and months of their life working on in every key element, right? Like from the stage design or the elements that you see in the HUD or those videos that people are editing, like down to the tiniest detail to make like the producer, Tom Eric, is somebody who I work on with all of these events. And this guy is working harder than anybody I've ever met. And like, I just want to let people know that it sucks for everybody that there was no crowd, but it sucks for like these people and the players as well who want to put on a show. Like these are the people who want to have the crowd there and show their best work across the board for everyone, and then for there to not be any crowd there, like it just there's a human element to all of this, so people are just want them to be able to feel that. All right, we got that out of the way now. I've been all been all emo and sad. Let's keep the conversation going. We'll stick with the ugly. We'll finish off the ugly, and then we'll move on through.
Oh, let's go. This other one is pretty fun, right?
Yeah. So, what more can ZywOo do? Now,
what more can he do?
I don't know if I've vocalized this on the show many times before. I think that it's obvious that there needs to be a change or two within this Vitality roster. And it's not the suspects who I would have thought once upon a time who it needs to be. That's definitely changed. But right now, this team, like, there's a couple of names, and I don't know how you guys feel, but they're like top 5 posers, right? I think that there's going to be a bit of a... I think there's
like posing in the top 5.
Okay, so like in English, if you call someone like a poser, right, it's like they're pretending to be something,
right?
Something
they're not,
right. And I'm not saying that Vitality are pretending to be a top 5 team. I'm just saying that I think that they had a couple of results throughout their time that elevated them up to that point. And I want to say the same with mousesports, but I'm sure everybody will fucking kick off about that shit. But what do we think? Let's start with you, Striker. What do you think Vitality have to do to get back on track?
I'm just gonna challenge that poser thing because, like, to be honest, like throughout, they were probably the 3rd best team of, or at least like for challenging for like the status of the 3rd best team of last year. So to call them a top 5 poser, maybe at this point, obviously, sure you can do that, but like throughout last year, I don't think there was any question that they were a top 5 team. In terms of what they can do now, honestly, it's really tough just because of how the French scene works, and the problem is like, it's going to be difficult to find a good replacement for anybody that you decide to remove. So I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know what they could do, barring, stealing somebody from G2, which I just don't see happening.
I'll quote, I won't try to pronounce his real name, Extaz, the coach of Vitality, back from late after the major. After they removed NBK, he said, "It's the last French-speaking team at Vitality."
All right.
So this is it. Like this cannot go any longer.
Does ZywOo speak English?
Yeah, he does. He just doesn't want to.
Okay.
So with him, Alex, in theory, obviously Alex would be the best English speaker because he's from Britain. You just need to go international. Like at this point, like there are no other French players that you can try that could like, you can try other players, but the chance of them working out is so low that I don't think it makes sense, right? It would be a massive gamble on someone completely unproven or someone that's been around like a Shox that has not been to the heights of Shox and has fallen like probably lower than what Shox is right now. So if Shox completely did not work, then what's the point in that? Just go international.
So that what we're speculating with here is stuff that would be like, we'd have to like build a full roster and see what players are available, or they have a lot of money. Who would they poach?
I mean, obviously you'd start with like 1 or 2 roster changes, and that would probably be RPK probably because of English, and then probably Shox, in my opinion, like as a semi-star player, whatever, you probably can find someone that's gonna do some of the lurking in a better way. I don't think that's like a super supportive role where you can frag. I think that's like something that, I don't know, Frozen on mousesports does pretty well. So you can probably find someone pretty semi-young, like unproven that's going to be doing that job much better.
So what do we think?
Honestly, there's up to 3 people that you could
also replace Apex.
Yeah.
Like anyone except Alex and ZywOo, in my opinion, are replaceable.
So where would you start, Striker? If you had to, like, first of all, what do you think is the biggest problem right now with Vitality? And if you had to replace 1 or 2 names, who would be those 1 or 2 names?
Honestly, I mean, firepower is one thing that you just have to look at, just because you just never have a consistent like second star to ZywOo. It was something that NBK was talking about last time that he was on, which was just that like they take turns, starring for the team and stuff like that. But obviously that's not sustainable. Like you want to have like a second player who's going to be up there with ZywOo all the time, right? You don't want them to kind of like take turns based on maps or just based on how they're feeling. That just doesn't seem very consistent, right?
I mean, you could take turns, but then the total needs to be like
No, of course.
At least across a series, someone needs to go above a 1.0 rating. You can't go like, oh, this is my good map, 1.20 rating, and then 0.6 on the other two maps. Like
yeah,
that,
but that's the thing.
cannot
Like
work.
that really just doesn't happen consistently enough, right? And that's because like you can't really bank on like all the time having like a second like Alex or Shox or Apex. It generally doesn't tend to be RPK, but even he has some of those games sometimes. But it's just like, it's not something that you can put your money on, right? It's just something that's not going to happen consistently. So that's I guess where you want to start. And like you say, like considering Shox was brought in to kind of be like another star to the team in a lot of ways, I think that's where you have to start and try to find another star with, like we said, probably internationally. And honestly, if it wasn't the English question, I would actually go for Apex in like as a second priority, not RPK. But I think RPK has a very, very clear role on the team that I think he's fulfilling pretty well.
Yeah,
he might not be skilled enough like all the time to like perform at that level, but I think he's like solid enough most of the time that I think, or rather at least he's better at it than the other two are at their roles, I think.
Like as the let's say on paper worst fragger on the team, he's not. There's not like a big difference when you look at the stats between him and everyone else. So that should not be the issue.
You just want a player like RPK on your team, even if he isn't necessarily
especially if you're changing a lot of things. Like that is a guy that's going to bring you some stability. But I'm just like, because of the English factor, I don't think that would work, right?
Yeah, I think that they have to overcome a couple of hurdles there. So this is a thing that if we're going, what we're doing now is we're talking about solutions that we think could fix the team to make them better. But Prof, if you were looking at this now and you were the team, how many would you wait until the middle of the year? Would you do it now? Would you give it some more time? What would you do? What do you think they would do?
Yeah, that is pretty hard to, because I don't think they didn't come into this year thinking, yeah, we suck. They came in, oh, okay, we finished top 5 last year. Maybe had a bit of a slump, but like it's gonna start well, and then they go to Blast and they go to this event, and both are pretty bad overall. So I think now they're only starting to think of, okay, maybe things can't work out. So I don't think if they came into the year already thinking our team sucks, then now they would make the change. But I don't think that's the mentality. They probably will give it until the major and then go for changes like mid-year or something like that.
Just quickly, did the world rankings just change now?
Probably should be if we...
No, not yet.
Well, I can see.
It did. Yeah,
it did just now.
Yeah,
I literally just like 2 minutes ago I checked it. Lol.
Vitality number 9.
Okay,
this is good because we can work this into some of our conversation here. You can bring this up from time to time, Lucas, while we're going through this. Okay, so the Vitality one for me, like I don't have too much to say. I just the type of Counter-Strike that they're kind of delivering. They obviously have good ideas. They're just not landing it. Like it's just not working. So I don't know. I don't really have anything I want to get stuck into too much about
Especially in the current beta, when you see like teams like Navi and stuff like that, where you're like Flamey, who is like the 3rd, 4th best player on the team, just like aces people with a Galil. You need to have more individual like power. I think it's okay. You can always go like the complete other direction, but I don't think that will work for a team that has the best player, second best player in the world, that wants to be the best. If you just want to be like a top 10 team, then you can continue doing what they're doing right now. But no one wants to be that, especially if you have ZywOo in the team.
I'd be a top 10 team, Prof.
Yeah, I mean, I would as well. I can be your RPK, man.
All right.
No, I can't. He's so much better.
I don't think you can be RPK. Honestly, like
nah.
if you'd want to beat somebody, if it's somebody like Apex,
you want to join
like,
Tyler?
I can be a nah.
That was a joke. Didn't land.
You probably want to be Apex just because he gets away with dying first a lot, just because that's kind of his role, and stuff like that. So I feel like that's like the position that you would want to be in.
Nah, I'm a passive player. Let's talk about the rankings then.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm honestly a bit surprised.
Bring these up. All right, so we can start tying this into different parts of our discussion. So these have just been updated, ladies and gentlemen. Navi straight up there in second position. Thank God. I need mousesports to tank a little bit more to keep the bet safe. All right, G2 have moved up a couple of slots. Liquid have dropped. EG have dropped. FaZe have gone up 1. Vitality have dropped down 1. And 100 Thieves have maintained their positions. So
4 points off, by the way, at the top. They're 4 points away from each other.
Oh dear. What's
also ENCE dropped to 20th, and MIB are out of top 20.
Wait, Prof, who?
ENCE is 20th. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that.
We're not talking about that.
I forgot about it. Sorry, man.
Yep, they're banned. ENCE are banned. All right, so we only. What other movies we got on?
Do you remember that we actually we banned MIBR2 like a long time ago?
Yeah, but I guess we don't really talk about them anymore either.
Not much, no.
All right, so I think what we could do here is talk about Na'Vi because that's the biggest jump up in the rankings, right? So we'll move to the good, and we'll talk about Na'Vi. So my button's not working properly, Lucas. Is it because I did it in the wrong order? All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to talk about Na'Vi. They came on in. They had a Perfecto on the 24th of January, 2020. They went to ICE. They lost to Mouse in the grand final. They went to Blast. They beat Astralis. They went to Katowice. They lost to fnatic, and they beat everybody else. And
fnatic, including later on.
And they look like absolute monsters.
Actually, G2, never mind.
Yeah, fnatic was the only team that beat them, and that was in the group stage, right? So if we're looking at this, they beat FaZe twice. They lost to fnatic once. They beat G2 in the grand final. They beat Astralis. They beat Liquid
as well.
And there's one more team name I'm missing here. They beat one more team.
Nip.
Oh, and they fucking steamrolled NIP on Mirage. Holy shit, they reamed those guys out. Na'Vi, now you guys know I've been hyped about these guys for a while. I was even hyped when Guardian was fucking announced on the team. Do we think, Striker, we'll start with you, that this Na'Vi, not to the level we saw, like not to the destruction level, but do we think they're here to stay as a top contender?
Look, the reason I'm hesitant, right, is because it was really I'm gonna repeat what Blad wanted to coin, which is the "fuck you" brand of Counter-Strike, which I definitely agree with that sentiment. That's just generally how they play. They just didn't give a shit. That's basically how they played. But that's not necessarily something that you would expect them to repeat again and again. Like you say, sure, maybe. I don't think they will. I still think that. Well, okay, I guess you said that it wasn't going to be to this kind of level.
They're not going to own everybody like that every time. I don't think anyone expects that.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're definitely going to be title contenders from now on. We've seen how high they can peak, right? The problem I see is this was the sort of confidence that doesn't last.
Yeah,
like I don't see this lasting, especially like with the way that they started the tournament. Like they really ramped up in the playoffs, like to a level that nobody could have expected. But from how they looked in the groups, for example, like there's no way that team would have been able to win this convincingly, or even probably won the event. I think they would have lost to like an Astralis if they played the way that they did in the group stage, but they didn't. They just like all showed up in the playoffs, and that's not something that I expect them to do every single event that they go to. Maybe they're going to win like an event here and there, but they're not going to be like a contender for the #1 spot consistently, I don't think.
All right, let's do this. So you've heard Prof, you just heard Striker's position on this. Let me add this little bit of context to it, and then you can give your take on it. They, according to Simple, other than the officials that we've actually seen them play, they've only had 2 weeks of practice with Perfecto in the lineup. So how does that weigh into what Striker's saying?
That I don't think it changes the basic argument, which is that this really reminds you of like the FaZe New York or whatever, and maybe some of the Liquid wins early on, where it's super momentum based. And obviously FaZe didn't last, and Liquid lasted longer, but also had. I think it's kind of accepted now that was kind of a air-free space for them to just like penetrate and win tournaments when everyone was kind of shaky and Furia was finishing top 2 or whatever. So that is the worrying side for me, and especially their T sides not being that good. That is also something that people can exploit with time. So, but I think they're fucking sick. So that will also just balance it out to be like a top 5 team, as they should be with this lineup. However you turn it around. I like
the likening this lineup to the phase of maybe like 2 years ago. That is pretty accurate to me, I think.
For me, I'm probably a little bit blinded here. Like for whatever reason, the likening that I took, like I said, even when Guardian was at it, the likening I took to the constellation of this roster with Blade behind them, like it all just in my mind, I was like, this is going to be fucking sick. They just have so much firepower. Like Blade's going to make all these sick strats and tell them how to play every single situation. And then when they need a solution, Simple and Electronic are just going to do something that we've never seen before. And everyone's going to lose their fucking minds and it's going to be crazy and no one's going to be able to stop them. It's going to be wild, right? That's me just fucking on 3 different coffees a million miles a minute. Like that's how I look at this team. And then I take into the fact that they have only had that limited amount of practice and they were doing prep work and countering the tendencies of these teams. And sure, people couldn't really know what to counter theirs because they were just kind of adjusting to their own shit, right? They were adjusting to everybody they were playing. But Blade, when he was the in-game leader of Flipside, had these fucking sick executes. Like he had these awesome strategies. And if he can add even just a couple of these little gimmicks into the game of this Na'Vi roster and they continue to get better. FaZe had the issues of communication. FaZe had the issues of getting to finals and then choking and then not being and then losing their way, right? This team right here have come on in and they've done things immediately, like straight off the bat. They've just come in and they've just fucked everybody up. And right now, Katowice was the main thing on everybody's agenda. If you were the Astralises, the Liquids, the EGs of the world, the 100 Thieves, maybe you have a little bit of a shaky time over there at Blast, but your sight was set on Katowice. So these guys have no, like all the other teams, every single other name has no excuse for showing up to this tournament not prepared. It's the first Master Championship in the ESL Pro Tour, which all these guys are a part of, which qualifies you for Cologne and shit. This is the first big event. This is the only big event that we have until Pro League in 15 days' time, and then that's a fucking month-long thing. Like, this is the main focus for everybody coming in here. This isn't like a slow taper into the year, and now we're going to have a million other tier 1.5/2 events where we get maybe 6 of the top 10, or we get a couple of the top 10 and a bunch of good-looking tier. This was all the big teams. And they just came in here and just fucking... Look, I don't think they're going to replicate the bodying of everybody, but I think the context of them only having a limited amount of time with a sick cunt coach behind them going forward. That's a sick cunt's nice, all right, boys. Let me explain this to you. If you're a sick cunt, that's the best thing you can be.
That is positive.
If you're a sad cunt, you're the worst thing you could ever be. You want to be a sick cunt, and Blade's a sick cunt. And I just think like look, I was the guy on the desk who was like, everybody's saying Astralis are playing boring Counter-Strikes, you're idiots, this is beautiful. I'm even bored of Astralis winning. So I want Na'Vi to win. I want
They're saying Na'Vi #1 of 2020. That's what you're saying.
Lock it in now.
Okay.
I think they're the real deal, right? I think they are genuinely the real deal.
Can I actually condition this on something? Because I think that's going to be really important. So far this year, we've seen Boomich step it up a lot. I think we can all agree on that, especially in that final. But just beyond that, he's had 2 really good performances.
Use the full title, Lord Boomich.
Lord Boomich. I'm sorry. Okay, Lord Boomich. If he keeps this up, I can see that happening. I think it's going to depend on that, because we've seen Flamey, go up and down. I think I'm not sure we can ever expect him to be like the consistent third star of Na'Vi anymore, just because he's kind of like dropped out of that status and then just come back up for a while, dropped out of it, come back up. Perfecto is just too passive, like to be like a game changer, for this team. So I think Boomich has got to be that. And if he is that, I can get behind that theory.
The thing with Boomich is that nuke game, like
ridiculous.
I don't understand what I watched those last 2 days. Like I was sitting there with a bunch of people who are part of Counter-Strike because they work on the production, and they're all doing their bits and pieces, and I'm sitting there doing my Skybox clips, and these rounds are happening, and I'm just laughing. Like I've got headphones on, and I'm just laughing, and everyone's looking at me like, "Is this kind of all right? Like, is he?" And I was just laughing because I could not believe what they were doing to these teams. Like, we've seen teams get dismantled before, right? Like they'll try and do a default and then everyone just gets picked off and dies. But they were just going to areas, and Boomich was getting like 3 kills like every time. Like what was he, like 9-0 in opening duels or some shit? I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
It just didn't make sense. Something like that. That new game was against G2 was super ridiculous. I love, like, he was, I don't remember the halftime score, but he went into the T. Yeah, and then went into the T side, eco round, and he like Glock rushing through doors, burst fire, kills Nexa out of like with the first like 2 bullets. who kills people with 2 bullets with a burst? Like the burst is the most retarded piece of shit that doesn't work on the Glock or the FAMAS. 2 bullets never go into the head. Easy 2 bullets into the head. Just like, why is this happening? They don't even win the round, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's so ridiculous. So that's also like kind of like that cannot say like that level of performance from anyone. Like Simple doesn't have like he has games like that, but not all the time. So that is kind of the worrying. It's not worrying. They're still super sick. So
what do we think about? You already said you feel Perfecto's quite a passive player, but I felt like he's a pretty safe pair of hands, right? It didn't feel like he was letting them down in too many situations.
No, not at all.
He was winning a good amount of clutches. I felt like I think that him as like what Simple said in the. Did you guys Striker? You wouldn't have because you would have had all the press conference shit.
The couch thing.
Yeah. Did you hear some of the questions that were being asked there, or some of the answers?
I didn't hear anything.
It was kind of like weird, like the whole thing.
It was an interesting dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, Electronic was super sad because he had a shit
was
tournament.
Wild.
He was like, "Yeah, I play bad. I'm not happy."
Yeah, Trace asked him like some question about like how he was feeling about the team or the win or whatever, and he was instantly like, "I'm not happy with my own performance." Like he didn't even like smile or anything. Like he was being deadly serious, and it was like, "Oh, you just won, dude." Where like everyone's happy, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not happy with how I played."
Honestly, like someone just said in chat, there's no. You actually had something to say. I didn't want to.
No. I got nothing. We're good.
Like there is no weak link in Navi. That's someone from chat. I think actually like the biggest not a biggest overperformance, but overperforming as well. Aside Boom, which was Flamey, like the way he played in these games that they won later in the playoffs. There was like literally no mistakes. Even when he made a mistake, like this one round on ramp against Astralis. Not the ace, but the round where he got caught with a flash or something, and then he doesn't die instantly, goes to the Krieg and kills 2 guys. Like, absolutely doesn't make any sense. He should die there 99% of the time. And he was pulling out those kinds of rounds, even when he was like out of position and stuff like that. So I think maybe him just going down a bit sees them like, I don't know, touchable by other teams.
But this is the confidence thing that I was talking about. I think when that like goes away, I think that's where we're going to see a more realistic Navi. And I'm just curious about what happens to Navi when that starts happening. You know, obviously they're going to be able to win tournaments if they like turn up this way. But is that going to be consistent? I'm not entirely sure.
All right. Well, I've gagged enough, and my eyes are watering on all that Navi cock I've just been deep throating. So let's keep this moving. Let's talk about the other good here, which is fnatic coming on in. Now, their playoff match, if ladies and gentlemen only watch that, they probably get the wrong impression of fnatic. They had 78 days off coming into this event. They came on in, they had what you might consider a bit of like a warm-up match against Renegades, where they actually, Dexter won a clutch, and there was a massive comeback on that Inferno game. But that's not what we're talking about here. fnatic coming in. What did you make of this, Prof? Like, were you surprised?
I was pretty much surprised. Like even the first game against Renegades, I thought, okay, maybe Renegades have some form of a chance here, but they got super stomped on the first map, which is Dust2 and their pick. And then the comeback was kind of too late. But I don't know, like fnatic overall looked pretty good. Even I don't remember which game. There's just so many games. So one Inferno from fnatic, I really saw a lot of cool little things. Like you pointed out a couple of them on the Telestrator with like the mid retakes they were doing on the CT side, and also just like retaking the A bomb site. They had some like cool smokes to help the people from long wrap into site. There was like JW threw like from mid, he threw a smoke to isolate like the view from the pit. Just like kind of simple things, but you see that they're not just doing like complete bullshit stuff. They have these like tactical small things, and then on top of that, they also had the classic like fnatic bullshit rounds, which are like mid pushing, jumping through windows and stuff like that. So it's like a pretty good balance in my opinion of all of the things.
So Striker, their playoff match, right? What do you think went wrong for them there? Because it was looking like they're a team who could have gone deep in this.
You mean the G2 one, right?
Yeah.
They played 100 Thieves. That was a double overtime game. and then G2. I'm trying to remember that one because I remember more the first one, where they play against the 100 Thieves, and I thought, based on that, I thought, yeah, there's no way this team will win this, just because they looked pretty shaky and then had to like pull it out of their hat to even come back on that. I think it was Mirage.
Yeah,
so
they
took against 100 Thieves.
They took Dust 2 off of G2, which is a pretty big win to take. But then on like Inferno as the first map, if I remember rightly, there was a lot of those scrappy rounds that Fnatic would normally win that they didn't win. I felt like there was maybe 4, maybe 5 of those situations that would normally go in their favor.
G2 have been really good at those though. Like I feel like G2 were like a bad matchup for Fnatic in that sense, just because both teams are were pretty strong at those. At this event anyway, like G2 at least. Fnatic have been known for that for a long time, but I think G2 kind of matched them in that sense, just because of something that Nexus said even in my interview with him after the group stage, I think it was, where he was saying that they literally like lose a player and then they just group up. And they just trade off Kenny basically. And that's honestly, if you look at how they play, that's a lot of what they do. They just like literally just group up and try to like find an advantage somewhere and just take a site in 4 people and that's it. Like they don't really pull out like massive, mid round decisions. They just literally group up and play off Kenny. And so that's it's just something that I think Fnatic weren't necessarily ready for.
Yeah,
I wanted to add like about the 4v5s that you mentioned about now we're talking about G2, but still I think that G2 Fnatic was kind of a role reversal of what we would expect from Fnatic and G2, just because, as you said, like G2 were winning these scrappy rounds, and then Fnatic losing a complete blunder at the end of like that eco that happened.
Oh yeah.
So that is an interesting, and just about the 4v5s, I tried to find it now, but after the grand final, like G2's stats overall were completely wrecked. But I think after the semi, they had a 60% T-side 4v5 win. So they lose a player and they win 60, like more often than they lose. That was
so
completely ridiculous.
With some of the stuff that they were doing, especially in that Fnatic matchup, right? Like with those really fast plays, they did the same kind of thing on Inferno and Train. Is because when they had secured 14 or 15 rounds and they were looking pretty, and then it got real gritty, instead of slowing it down and going, oh, let's isolate this area and we'll try and do this, execute, they just went the opposite. They just went, let's just fucking rush. Like they had that round where they bought nades and pistol upgrades on Inferno, and then they did the nades, and one of the nades missed. One of the nades landed in front of the sandbags, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
They naded top banana, they killed the guy, and they naded sandbag, and they would have killed the other guy too, but one of the nades missed, so he got 2 kills from that position. Like, they could have won that round right there. They were doing, like, really fast stuff that was forcing Fnatic into these weird retakes. It was like Fnatic were constantly under siege. And then I talk about it on the desk, but that round they won where Amanek pushed forward and got into city spawn, right? So that conditioned Fnatic to be scared when on the last round of the game, because they went 2 guys Ivy, they went around dark side, they traded, I think they killed JW at spawn or whatever, and then when they were retaking through,
up in that situation,
he didn't need a fight. I don't know why he was fighting there.
Yeah, he shouldn't have fought the second guy. Like, he got a pick, he stopped the push from that side, and he could have just been passive and waited to push, but he wanted to get that kill.
So then when that happened, it took them, like, it felt like forever, like a good 10, 15 seconds just to clear CD spawn. And then Hunter, obviously, all he had to do was kill the diffuser, and that was because
of literally all because of JW, dying in that situation, because they just tried to get Kenny S out of that position from that point, like behind that train basically, and it took them, like you say, it just took them so long that they just didn't leave themselves enough time to retake anymore, which was just one of those pressure situations that you would expect Fnatic to play better. But just in general, I think it came down a lot to G2's. First of all, I felt like their strat book was actually really deep, considering what type of a team they are. The amount of like different strats that they're able to pull out, even in like a half buys scenarios like this one, which actually Nexa told me was literally just their pistol round strat. That's what he called. Like, let's just play the pistol round with these pistols, like against guns actually, and that worked. But just in general, like, it feels like they have a lot of strats. Which I'm sure is partly down to Nexa and Malik just, working together and making sure that they just have a plan for basically every round.
Yeah, I think that they are going to be a very good team. The only thing being their issue is probably the experience that they're going to have to build up over time, right? Because for the majority of the guys in this team, they haven't played a lot of big tournaments. especially deep. But I think what Malik has done with them in terms of their approach to the game is great. Like like you're saying, they have a lot of depth, but it's not just they have a lot of depth in the way I would say that 100 Thieves have a lot of depth in strats. They have a lot of depth in if they just take an area and they decide they want a 3-man wide swing, they have the individuals who can just wide swing and hit those shots. Like they don't need to run a conditioning situation, a set piece where everything's smoked off and flashed and everything's perfect. They actually have the individuals that can make the miracles or make the harder plays happen. And then if that doesn't work, they can always fall back on the more structured side. So I think they like have a really nice balance at the moment. The grand final, I don't think is indicative of the team that we can expect.
Nobody could have beaten that Navi, to be honest. I think it wasn't nothing about G2. Maybe sure, like Kenny, I think, was tilted at some point because you could see that he was just doing so badly. So yeah, I can get how some of them were probably getting tilted at some point because it was just getting too one-sided. But just in general, I feel like nobody could have beaten that version of Navi.
So look, do we think G2 are going to be a consistent team in the top 5?
I think they're going to be on the edge of that. Like where they are now, I feel like they're going to be able to, like, you know, maybe have like a contention to win the events as we saw now. I'm not entirely sure that they're just suddenly going to become like a challenger to like an Astralis, you know, for the #1 spot necessarily. But I do expect them to kind of stay around the spot where they are now and potentially like improve later. But at this point, I'd say they have like a good shot of winning like 1 out of 4 events or something and just being in a good position.
All right, for you, Prof, let me put it this way. Who's got more growth potential from what you saw? Because I think everybody agreed what they saw from FaZe was better than what we'd normally see. Who do you think has more growth potential, G2 or FaZe in 2020?
G2 or FaZe? I mean, if we're talking about like current ranking, I think they're kind of on a similar level long term. Like now FaZe is like number 8 and G2 is number 5, but I don't think that is too indicative. And as well, like FaZe did lose to Navi twice, which turned up to be like the best team at the event. So I don't know. I think I think FaZe are better than the placing they had in Katowice.
Okay. So
to be fair, they were still top 8. Like they lost to Navi, who are obviously like at a pretty good level at that point. So I don't think FaZe's placing was actually that bad overall. Sure, they didn't make it to playoffs, but these ESL
events, I think they could have like beaten Liquid and like EG didn't make top 6. So
you beaten Liquid? What do you mean?
I think they could have beaten Liquid, like FaZe.
Are we talking about
finished
FaZe,
top 6? FaZe. Liquid finished top 6.
Oh, okay, like potentially, not that they met. Okay, got it. Well, yeah, I mean, especially when they beat Liquid twice in Blast. So
let's play that game though, right? That Prof's kind of started here. Out of all the teams that we saw right at this event, and this is where I don't want you to use the data that you have. I don't want you to use like the rankings of how they were. I don't want to have the decay of any bullshit. I don't want to keep in consideration of who won Epicenter. I want from what you saw of Counter-Strike so far in 2020 and what you think in your heart of hearts, like what you're projecting, what you think's going to happen. Who do you think at this point in time, or let's say in a 3-month window from now, the top 5 are? Like it doesn't have to be super clear, but who do you guys have as your top 5 teams? You can give it to me in any order. Like you don't have to do it like 1 to 5 necessarily, but who are the teams you would be putting in that race? Either you can start. I don't mind.
I'm gonna start. I'm fine with that. Astralis Navi, I think the current top 2 is pretty obvious. I'm like sure I'm taking in mind that you were saying not to go off the rankings, but I'm just going off them just to see what teams I'm considering, right? I'm just not to forget anybody. Astralis Navi, I think for sure. I think those 2 are pretty much locks. Astralis, like assuming that they're not going to keep being in the place that they are, I assume they're going to come back from this. And they still had a great event if you disregard the actual semifinal, because they were pretty confident in the group stage. They looked like a team that could have won the event if they didn't meet like a Navi that was at this level. Like honestly, Astralis probably barring Navi showing up the way they did, Astralis were probably in a tournament winning form. So Astralis I'm going to keep there. Navi, I think based on this, at least, assuming they're still going to be able to, like, boom, it just doesn't suddenly drop off or anything. I think they're still going to be at this, like, at least like in the top 5. I'm scrambling as to the rest because I'm still not losing faith in Liquid or even EG, honestly. Like those 2 are my
You're
like.
not losing faith in EG.
No, I'm not.
Interesting.
Honestly, I'm not. But especially Liquid, 100% I see Liquid being the better out of the two long term. So I would put Liquid in there just because I think one of the two will make it. The problem is like G2, I said we're going to be on the edge, so that's another like situation, something like that. And fnatic have so far been really consistent. So like so far I have Astralis, Navi, fnatic, mousesports. I think I'd still put in there. So that's 4, right? And then the last one is like G2 or Liquid, yeah.
Okay, so you've kind of rounded it out there at like 5.5, but that's cool.
Yeah,
that's,
pretty much.
Okay.
It's just hard to say between, like hard to see what's going on with Liquid. That's why I'm kind of hesitant as to which one. Which is like I honestly went with a mega boring answer just because I literally picked the current top 6 to be the top 6 3 months from now. But it's just how it looks, honestly, if you look at it, because EG have been fucking up FaZe. Yeah, go for it.
I'll take Astralis, Navi, fnatic, and then I'll take a FaZe. I will not take Liquid or EG because none of them show signs of improving and are not top 5 right now. So, what are we basing this on? So then I'm left with like either mousesports or G2 out of these teams, or like a Vitality miraculous resurrection of like Shoxy Jesus 3 years later after his like burial. So I'm not going for that. So I'll just go Astralis, Navi, fnatic, FaZe, and I'll put in a G2 instead of mousesports, just a fuck strikers bet.
Okay, all right. So I'm like I kind of fit more along yours, Prof. There, I think that like I said earlier, I think fnatic in the playoff matches, especially the semifinal, was not the same team. Like they just looked like they had a really sloppy off day. Normally they'll have a day where, you know, at least 1 or 2 of their stupid plays works. That day, none of their stupid plays worked, besides JW and the smoke near window against an eco. That was about it. I like the Navi Astralis call. I'm happy with, and I think FaZe as well. And then like I would probably, this is where I want to have hope for Liquid, like just to think about all the star players on that team. But I kind of have to side with Prof a little bit in the sense of there hasn't looked like there's been any improvement. And it's this when Twist
did his... from how they looked, like from how shaky they looked at Blast to this, I don't think that's to be fair, like I didn't see all their matches, so it's kind of hard for me to gauge overall. But it's just in general, I felt like they weren't as shaky as in Blast.
Sure. It's just when they make it, like I guess they lost to Navi, right?
They lost to G2 and Navi, so both finalists, and both those series were like relatively close, right? So
I'm always like gonna have that,
but they also didn't beat, like they beat Virtus Pro overtime in 69,
yeah.
And beat EG kind of convincing, but 3 maps still. So
well, look, 100 Thieves beat mousesports and EG. Just putting that out there. 100 Thieves beat better teams in that tournament.
But do you honestly expect them to do that again?
Now that they're over their little fucking emo session that they were having, Jesus Christ. Now that they've got that out of the way, I think they'll maintain a spot within the top 10. I don't know.
But I mean that's where they've been for a long time, right?
Yeah.
For a while now. So I don't necessarily think 100 Thieves are going to be like a mousesports.
This is a good question. Do you think the lack of a crowd impacted the result of the tournament, like Katowice? So maybe in theory that G2 fnatic game, that would be the one that I expect fnatic would have a higher percentage of winning if there was a crowd.
Considering it literally could have turned on one round, like towards the end of the which map was that? There you go, Train.
Inferno as well. Everything.
Inferno as well.
Yeah, true. Actually, they like closed it out with a rush. But that was like the thing is, both maps were actually pretty convincing. Like and they ended up being close only because Fnatic like started pulling a comeback. Like it could have been like a 16-5, then a 16-14 win, whatever it was for Fnatic on Dust 2, and then like another 16-6 or whatever, because it was like 15-6 on both maps.
Yeah, they had big leads, and then Fnatic made comebacks.
Yeah, so I'm actually mistaking this series for something else then. But yeah, in that sense, sure, G2 you could see just because next Hunter haven't really played in front of a crowd. Kenny S tends to be like, down on himself if he doesn't really perform on those kind of stages. So I feel like it's entirely possible that they wouldn't have had the run that they actually had. But other than that, I'm not entirely sure that they would have changed much.
Like the thing is, you can speculate about that stuff, and we said on the desk that some teams would benefit from there being no crowd, and some teams would obviously some teams would benefit from there being no crowd, and other teams would just be in the same position, right? Whereas like if there is a crowd, some teams would benefit from that crowd, and other teams would suffer because of that crowd. If that makes sense.
The thing is, like, Navi are the type of a team to kind of feed off it, I feel like. So I think they still would have won the event. I don't think like Perfecto would have crumbled mega hard or anything like that. I think it's just really just G2.
Like
I'm sure he could have, but the thing is, like, that's what I said earlier. Like he was not a game changer for them. Like it was all the other players that like had massive performances to like push them over the line, or not even push them over the line. It just like made it mega one-sided against Astralis and G2. So I feel like Perfecto wouldn't have mattered too much.
Yeah, it's obviously like it's speculation, it's theory crafting, because we have no way of knowing how these players would have reacted. We're just like, if you're a big stage player and you understand like, you know, the process between being on stage, and you've looked at the crowd a lot of times, and all those factors play into your mentality, right? So it would have been disingenuous for us not to have broached that topic, but unfortunately, there's no way for us to actually know what type of impact it would have had. The more history and stuff that builds with Counter-Strike over time, that's where we start to see more levels of that, right? We talk about big game players versus like the rookies or the guys without that level of experience, and there's a reason for that. It's because some of these guys actually thrive in that environment. So
I mean, literally, if you look at fnatic, it's like half of that. Well, FLASHPOINT, ZywOo, Crims, all big game players, and from what we've seen from Borland so far, he is one too. So
he did.
That's
he
definitely
did
something
choke a bit.
Roland, yeah, but I mean, this time I think you can't really say it was because of the pressure, just because obviously there was no crowd or anything, and he's been on those stages like several times before, so I don't think it was necessarily nerves. I think could have just been a bad game in his scenario, because like we've seen mega big performances from him in semifinals and stuff like that so far, so I don't think we have to be worried about him necessarily.
All right, well, we got the bad to cover here. We kind of already dabble on them a little bit, so we'll make these ones quick. I'm going to give you this one, Prof. You can take mousesports. What do you want to say about them?
Really shows how their approach is super simple and sucks a lot when their individuals are not on form. I obviously, again, like so many matches, I can't remember which one it was, but there was this Inferno game, maybe 100 Thieves, that they played where it looked like a matchmaking game, literally, like two guys finding picks mid, one guy going solo banana through a smoke. Like, it looked super ridiculous, and they were just dying everywhere. Their T side was awful. It was awful to watch.
Kind of sounds like the opening game against Tyloo, to be honest. But they won that 16-10 like pretty easily.
Yeah, but that is because they play against Tyloo, so even if they're like kind of bad, they will not lose that. And I don't know.
To be fair, like as somebody who obviously has skin in the game, like I'm gonna say that I 100% agree. Like the problem is like their problem is kind of the same that I could potentially visualize with Navi if they, that confidence doesn't really stay up. It's like if like a Woxic, and especially Frozen, it's somebody who I was like talking about a lot in the last maybe like 6 months since we've seen him like ramp it up, and since like mousesports started to actually win something and started to not stagnate as they had for most of the last year. So Frozen, I feel like is the like what Carrion called him, the Joker. Like if he doesn't put up the same numbers that he used to at the end of last year, and looks more like he had now, where he was like back to his old like mega inconsistent form, where he was like one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad, stuff like that. So I feel like that's the dangerous part about mousesports.
So are we worried about mousesports?
Yes.
I am worried for my bet. I'm gonna say that for sure.
Okay.
Just because even
FaZe are around though, bro. If FaZe are top 3 team for 6 months,
sure,
I'll give you your money. No problem.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
But probably he has 2 months of mousesports.
Yeah, exactly.
He wants mousesports to stay in the top 3.
Like they're gonna stay in the top 3 for like the next, probably until like the next big event, which is what, like Pro League finals.
Pro League in 15 days.
But that's just the regular season though. Like
yeah.
until we actually get the finals.
That's the thing. Like the rankings are going to be super weird from this point onwards, because there are no big events.
They're probably going to stay there for like
2
another
months.
month or something until we get like another LAN event. So
Pro League, and then we'll have the Blast, the Showdown, but that's all like in April. So we have a
it's
month
6
and a
months,
half.
right? That we had the bet is 6 months, right?
Yeah, 6 months. So
Yeah.
We're at
need
like
to be
2.5 now
like,
or something.
what?
We're like 2.5 now, I think. 2.5 months.
I'm not keeping count. You let me know when I have to pay the
I think
money.
it's 10 weeks, 10 weeks now, so it's like two and something. And they're probably going to stay there for another month just because of what we were talking about. Like there aren't that many events at this point. And it's since they have like the recency, they still have like wins in their last couple of months and stuff. Like they're still probably going to stay where they are at this point. But yeah, beyond that 1 month, like let's say they fuck up Pro League, that don't even make it to the finals, they're definitely out of the top 3.
Yeah.
So that's literally like what my bet hinges on at this point, like them making the finals and Pro League basically.
All right, and the last one here, we already spoke about these guys a little bit. It's just to do with Astralis, Liquid, and EG. So I'm worried about EG the most, and Prof, I feel you're probably in the same boat.
I am too, honestly.
Like they didn't do shit for so long now, so I don't know. Like, why not be worried? Nothing. Let's just recap their.
Do you think it's their approach to the game that is the issue?
It is also kind of even similar to the mousesports thing, but probably like individual form even worse. I guess just last events. So Katowice 9th to 12th, Blast Premier Spring Series. They finished last in the group, or third. Never mind. They didn't go through. Then 3rd to 4th in Epicenter, which didn't have really good teams. 5th to 6th at ESL Pro League Finals. That was their last kind of okay result. 3rd to 4th ECS, where there were only 4 good teams. So they kind of beat the shit teams. And 5th to 6th at Asia Championships. 5th to 6th at IEM Beijing. Like, these results are not good.
But the worrying part for me is just the teams that they lost to, especially this year. Obviously, they lost to OG twice. Back at Blast, and now they lost to 100 Thieves in an elimination game. So that's the worrying part for me, just because if they're capable of losing to these teams, especially OG, obviously, I guess you could chalk that up just to like rustiness and stuff like that. But obviously with Katowice, following up on that and them still losing to 200 Thieves, that's definitely worrying.
All right. Well, we're done with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Are we going to do this fantasy thing for Flashpoint?
Do you want to throw it in quickly? What else do we do?
Well, honestly, I've got the bracket for the minors, for the closed qualifier for the minor, which came on through. So let's do this. Let's whack up playtime, and we'll do. If we got time for the fantasy, we'll do it there. Throw it up, Lucas. Let's do it. All right, so we're probably going to touch on Flashpoint a little bit before we wrap the show, just so people at home can keep up with what's going on over there. But what I want to talk about right now, Lucas, I'm going to link you the bracket. You're going to bring this up. This has just been announced.
Like half an hour ago.
Yeah, for the closed qualifier for the minors. I've just sent it to you, Lucas. They've just done the bracket. So this is quite interesting. 8 teams from this tournament qualify for the minor, and this could actually tie into, once we finish talking about how the bracket looks and everything, we can actually talk about maybe other events potentially not going ahead this year. So that might be a fun little conversation for me and all my fear mongering to do. I know Striker sees things a little bit differently. Throw it up. You got it, Lucas? What? Me fear-mongering about coronavirus closing down all the Counter-Strike events for the rest of the year and all of us being out of a job.
Why would I be more positive about that?
Were we talking? No, not positive. Weren't we talking about it the other day?
I feel like you're mistaking me with somebody because we have literally not talked like for more than like 5 minutes.
Was it you, Prof?
Cut off.
Maybe in Discord? In Discord, yeah, it was me.
Okay, there we go.
I was linking all of the events.
Literally, for us being at the same event for like 8 days straight, we literally saw each other for like 3 minutes where I handed you off the t-shirt, and that's literally all I've seen of you for the past 8 days.
I went out and I watched the opening ceremony on the first day, but like the rehearsal, and that was about the only time I went in the arena. Other time I was just in production.
There you go.
All right. So here we go. Here's the bracket. You can see here Fnatic are seeded first. Smash is seeded 16, guys. That's kind of how these things work. Who are our favorites for this? Who do we think the top 8 are going to be? This should be pretty easy.
A European one, or what are you looking
Yeah,
at
the
now?
European
Yeah.
one. Well, let's do the
Okay, let's
European
see.
one.
Who cares about the other ones? I mean,
There were
honestly.
other ones
Yeah,
that
I'm
are all
just looking
insignificant.
through the news, so that was got
So I'm
confused.
thinking like Fnatic.
Of course.
I'm taking some Godsend. I'm taking a bit of OG. I'm taking a big and an NIP. And a Mad Lions. I like more like Heretics. Not Heretics, Heroic. What am I talking about?
I was like, what?
Not
You
Heretics.
actually
Definitely
take
not
Heretics?
Heretics.
We could do this.
That's
We
it.
could.
I mean, I think
that
that, like all of the favorites from all of the top teams from each of the matches seem like the teams that should go through. Like the top
Movie
eight
Star
pretty
Riders
clear.
versus Dig though.
You don't
That's
see like Dignitas. Dignitas had like an okay opening in the qualifiers, but yeah,
I mean, with them, it's just hard to say, right? Like we've seen
might be someone like Sprout instead of them.
Yeah, look,
If they-
like we can just like basically branch this into like the big favorites, which I guess we'd see as Fnatic and probably NAP, and then like potentially Mad Lions, I guess.
Yeah,
Those are
they're the
like the
top
three
three.
ones, three
Yeah.
big ones. Then like the second tier would be something like
OG.
OG. Maybe even
Heroic.
somebody like, well, I don't know about Godsend, to be honest, like putting them in that kind of category.
I mean,
Heroic, I
would,
kind of like
honestly.
for that.
Yeah, I think they look consistent enough for that. Like Godsend, OG, and Heroic.
Yeah, something like that. And then like the rest is kind of a toss up. It could be Dignitas.
Oh, Big,
Could be like
Big
Sprout,
looked good
Big.
earlier in the
Big,
year.
yeah,
didn't
that's true. Big actually won the.
Red will also
no,
go into
Leipzig?
that like
That's
second
Leipzig?
tier. Leipzig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rest of these teams, like I don't trust any of them. Like Smash, Movistar Riders, Copenhagen Flames with like two new players. Sprout, I would maybe put
Sprout
in
is
that
like the
category.
edge case for sure for me too.
Yeah, and then like Kova, Heretics certainly aren't doing anything.
No.
Northwind, Apex, like no, that isn't gonna happen.
So this might be one of those occasions where we get the clear-cut favorites going through, right? Because it's most likely going to
It
be
never
NIP
happens,
versus
though.
Big.
It never happens.
Well,
Like
it'd be
we're gonna
nice.
see some weird results somewhere.
So who's the biggest one we think could miss out? I think Dignitas is the biggest name that are likely to miss out.
Yeah, it depends on how big you see the Dignitas, right? That's the thing. Like sure,
Yeah.
like name wise, of course.
That's interesting. Like they're obviously not seated on HLTV ranking, probably seated on the ESL ranking because Dignitas isn't one of the top 8 teams based on our stuff.
That have the
Sprout would
points
be-
and shit, right?
Yeah, they have the forced points and maybe get right points still. So yeah.
Okay, well this
But-
wasn't as interesting as I thought it was going to be. I thought
Look,
that
I think there's I was gonna say Mad Lions. Like out of the big favorites, I'd say Mad Lions have like the biggest chance.
I
Just
think
because
like
this is
Mad
like-
Lions easily beat all of these teams. These are the teams they beat like consistently.
Yeah, I mean they have the most experience with them, I guess. Yeah,
and this
I
is
don't know.
going
It's hard
down
hard
on
to
the
say
8th,
outside
right?
of the 7th.
Yeah, this weekend.
7th to 8th. Okay, so not too long from now this will be on. Maybe I'll be at home then. Maybe I can stream some of the games. I'll get ESL on the phone. All right. That's that. Let's where are we at here? Let's talk about this Flashpoint stuff. So I'll link you the thing, Lucas. We won't do the fantasy. I can't be fucked.
No, Jesus Christ, I don't even know what I would
This
do
is
with
like
this.
going to the tip and coming home with more trash than you were going to drop off.
Like it would be
like,
pretty
I'd have
easy
to
to do
spend-
fantasy. Like you'd pick 2 big players, obviously. Like that's the team that I think everyone in Flashpoint is hoping goes through because pretty good players, history, blah blah.
Yeah, you could pick
And
like
then
Zori.
maybe put like Zori and then
If you can, the problem is like, can you actually? Well, that's the thing. Like, can you actually put it together with that kind of money? Because Zori's probably going to be high. Well, actually, maybe not.
We're not talking about fantasy anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
So
Doesn't matter.
these teams are kind of, I don't know. I mean, what else can you expect? Obviously, when all of the top teams are in Pro League. So
And the problem is like
big.
even those who aren't are kind of like sticking with MDL just because they're kind of wishing to go into Pro League next season. So that's a secondary issue that I'm not sure Flashpoint necessarily saw coming. That even teams who didn't make the Pro League and only were like invited into MDL were also not going to come outside of Big, obviously. Like that's pretty much everybody.
So this here, just they're all going to land to qualify, right? Just so everybody
Yep.
understands what's
Yep,
going
yep,
on with
yep.
this. So this qualifier is going on. I see the teams are flying there at the moment. This is going to kick
Wow.
off tomorrow. So with the 2 groups we have here, I would say Big are the favorite of Group A and Chaos are the favorite of Group B, right? Like,
Yeah,
I guess you could maybe argue Copenhagen Flames.
Things like
HAVO could be. HAVO should probably be.
Honestly, yeah, that's true. Like Group B is actually pretty up in the air to me. HAVO has done really well at like this kind of second tier. So
wait, only 2 teams qualify? I thought they still had to fill 6 slots.
But the other ones should come from like teams buying in still.
Wait, they haven't announced all those.
No.
Okay, when does the whole tournament start?
Last week before Katowice started, they said that they were going to announce like 2 more. They're hoping to announce 2 more teams by the end of that week. That didn't happen, so I feel like there's they have some issues with locking teams down.
Okay, so they might not even. Okay, well they must have the teams. They
Look, I
must
think
just be
the
holding up
problem
to
is
announce
like
them.
if they have to, they will obviously fill in the spots from this, right?
But that is not what you want.
Which is
happening,
exactly
definitely.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Like,
I think it's like you could
imagine having
still
more than 2 teams from this. Like, that's just a shit show, right?
like for their product, which needs to be like story driven and stuff like that. So their whole concept is like we don't have to have the best teams. We'll find good storylines. At least like if Chaos is in with Steel, then that can be something good.
Booyah also has like a pretty good story.
Or maybe like Orgless, which like FNS, Yay, Sub Rosa, Wardell, Infinite. These are all players that have like, especially in NA, if it's going to be an NA centric thing, they can bring something.
Yeah, they can just make like a lot of content around FNS and shit like that. So that's I can see that too. Yeah.
So, but if you get like a Redemption, Poa isn't going to make it. So who cares? Like Daytona, Copenhagen Flames.
Like the problem is like, what do you do around HAVO? Like they've just like they don't really have anybody.
We've been consistently top 45 for 2 years.
So
that's it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit curious here. Do you guys have any ideas who these other teams maybe? Like I actually like normally I have a pretty good beat.
I guess.
I just saw that get thrown in the chat, and that would make sense, right?
I mean, from what we heard, TSM were like one of the interested parties, but I think they didn't get a
Don't
team.
They need a team?
So,
but TSM was kind of this Orgless lineup, right?
Yeah, that was
similar.
supposed
Like
to be the
Wardell
Orgless
was
lineup.
there and Vanity.
But it feels like too, especially when they are actually in the global qualifier, it feels like that fell through. So, but at least like that could be like an organization in case they pick up like a team that we're not just aware of or something. Envy could be another one, yeah.
It's just like maybe E United has been bought by someone. Do they even have a roster anymore? Who's their 5th? Freakazoid Food, Marky Cooper. They don't even have a 5th? What the fuck? Alright, well, I guess we could run around in circles looking at which teams are going to join that all day. So yeah, that's all news to come still. And then it's the long-term impact of coronavirus. I can't stop talking about the coronavirus. I really fucking it's the only thing I can think about, to be completely honest with you. I landed today, coming back in through the airport in Malta, and we had to go one at a time through this camera, which was thermally scanning you to check your body heat. Like, no joke.
I mean, we had to do that for. You didn't have to do that for Katowice.
Yeah, we had to. They come in and they fucking
not necessarily
test us.
Like that high tech, but it's just at least they checked your temperature. Which honestly, by the way, I saw like some number like 34.5 on mine, and they let me through. Obviously, that's
what's
pretty
the
low.
temperature meant to be though? Like, what's the normal
the
body
is, like,
temperature?
The average temperature is like 36.5, 37.
Okay.
So I guess whatever above that, you'd have a problem.
So
but
a fever is
mine
over
showed like 2 degrees below the average, which I feel like cannot be true. That was okay.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, I don't really know a lot about like the science behind any of this shit. So if anybody listens to anything that we say about the coronavirus on this podcast and takes it as gospel, don't, because we're definitely not experts in this field.
No, and especially when there's still like a lot is not even known about it. So
okay, so I think what we need to kind of express here is the way that the world is going. There may be more of these events getting cancelled, or no audiences, or a different way of showing these events. Do you think that is likely at this stage, Prof?
Yeah, I think it's pretty likely. Like, the good thing is that we don't have any big events in the next month. So like we have group stages and stuff like that. So that is obviously not going to be canceled. Like, events that are 1,000 people plus are kind of the things that are at risk. And it really varies from country to country, to region, to like state or whatever. So it's not like there's like one rule to fit everything, and people are complaining about Katowice like, oh, there are no Polish people that are like confirmed to have it, so why are they canceling? Like, if someone decides it's going to be canceled, it's going to be canceled, and there's nothing you can do about it, right?
And a lot of it comes down to like organizations like the WHO having like massive protocols for things like these.
Yeah,
and
it's also
obviously
just
a
like,
lot of people would just come to them to kind of like ask for help in that scenario. And so like the more this happens, the more
the World Health Organization is like their advice is to not hold big events in general. So from that, it's not looking good. So unless something radical happens in the next month about like, oh, we found a cure or something along those lines, that people are not spreading it around, I think things like Pro League finals, things like Flashpoint finals, things like the fucking major in Brazil could be locked from public, right? That is a real concern for people to have right now.
Just so people can kind of understand this as well, there's discussion about the Tokyo Olympics being cancelled, right? Like, if they are talking about cancelling the Olympic motherfucking games,
to be honest, like, that's like maybe how many people go to that? Like in the hundreds of thousands or something. So that's like obviously much more massive than anything that we would organize, right?
But it's also like so massive you would never think it would be canceled, right? It's like this cannot be canceled.
The biggest thing here, this is the biggest thing that gets me. It's not that I'm scared of dying to this thing. It's that the world that I live in, I am experiencing history. The fact that we have gotten to this point in our lives, I've only been on this earth for 30 and a half years. And I think about this, and this is actually changing the way that like my life may go. I travel a lot and I work at these events. These are two of the biggest things that are going to be impacted from this whole situation, is large groups of people can travel, where it's a thoroughfare for people to get from point A to point B. So like, this is real shit. Now, I'm not worried about dying. I'm a little bit sick right now, actually, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I got a stuffy nose.
Oh, fuck.
But I'm not worried about having the coronavirus because I haven't been anywhere where the coronavirus has been, right? So like, I'm fucking good.
But people you have potentially met might have been in a...
That's the thing, that also like it has like a 2-week delay on symptoms, so people can be sick without it.
You have to say could have, because it's between like 3 days and 2 weeks.
Yeah. So you're all sick now. You're all fucked. It's all over. I've just infected the entire Counter-Strike world.
So maybe like, but I did hand you off that t-shirt. So
I think it's just like it's a general world scale issue on an like economic business, like a factor for economic and business of any kind. So it is going to be for esports as well. And we could just have like a pretty shit year if nothing changes soon.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that somber note, we might pack her up. We might close her down. We might end the stream. We got anything else we want to talk about, or we think we're good?
I'm just pissed that I just returned to a country where the first 3 cases have been have shown. So I came from a country that had none into one that had 3.
Well, I'm self-quarantining for the next 12 days until I fly out for Pro League. So I'm hiding in my little villa. All right.
I mean, you would have done that no matter what. So
yeah, it's true. All right, guys. That's been it. That was episode 12 of HLTV Confirmed. We did another one. We had Nomad on. We talked about viruses. That's a first for us. Yeah, Counter-Strike's looking good. It's competitive. The top 10's looking nice. It's looking saucy. It's looking sexy. And so are all of you for tuning in. Like as always, go be nice to someone. It makes you feel good. Or if you don't want to be nice to someone, maybe whack on some porn and beat your meat. You know, you don't have to, but it's just an idea. Good night, guys.